Hi guys, this is Nandini at Surviving Medical School 101 and welcome back to the second step of the pre-medical journey, which is preparation. Before we begin, I would like to profusely apologize to all of my subscribers for the delay in getting this video out. I hope you all understand that sometimes med school makes certain demands of you that just cannot be ignored. And I am first and foremost a medical student, and in doing justice to that, I had to neglect my channel for a while, and I am really sorry for that. However, I'm back now, and so without further ado, let's get right into today's video. So in step 1 of the pre-medical journey, we talked about making the decision to become a doctor. Once you have made this decision, your next step is going to be preparing for your pre-medical entrances, as only after clearing these will you be able to get admission in a medical college in India. Now these are highly competitive exams with around 5 lakh applicants competing for less than 50,000 seats. Now what this means is that you cannot just jump into the syllabus and hope for the best. If you're serious about getting into medical school, you first need to plan a strategy and then execute it. Keeping that in mind, this video is going to be divided into 3 sections: creating a strategy, study techniques, and what books and resources I used in my preparation. Hence, this video is going to be slightly long, so if you guys want to skip ahead to a specific section, the timestamps are going to be in the description bar. Now, while creating a strategy for preparing for the PMTs, the first thing you need to ask yourself is how much time do you have? Since PMTs include both the syllabus of 11th and 12th grade, the ideal time to start preparing is the start of 11th grade itself, giving yourself around 2 years of preparation time. However, if you've decided to become a doctor and clear your PMTs in 12th grade or decided to take a drop year to prepare, 1 year is also sufficient, and eventually what it boils down to is how you make use of your time. And in my opinion, the only difference in having 1 or 2 years of preparation time is the pace at which you cover your syllabus. So if you think that you can grasp quickly and can cover your syllabus efficiently in a short amount of time, 1 year is more than sufficient. So there's 7 things that you need to keep in mind while preparing a strategy for your PMTs. The first thing is that you need to get realistic about the amount of time you have versus the amount of syllabus that you need to complete. I would highly advise you against rushing through the syllabus, because what that's going to do is that you're going to compromise on building your concepts, and if you do that initially, then eventually you're not going to be able to solve the MCQs, and that is going to solve no purpose. So I would suggest what you do is that sit down, make a list of all the topics that you need to cover, make a list of the entire syllabus that you have to cover, and then allot certain number of days or weeks per topic, and then make sure that you follow through with it. Now while you're doing this, something that I would really like to point out is that make sure you do not neglect your weaknesses. Now this is something that I had done. I used to hate physics, and so I ran away from that subject as much as I could, and that was something that came back to terrorize me in the end. So I'm not saying that, don't play on your strengths. Definitely make your strengths stronger, but at the same time, don't neglect your weaknesses. If there's a subject that feels like, a monster to you, then I would say tackle it head on. Otherwise, it's going to become a nightmare for you in the end. The second thing you need to keep in mind is that the preparation for the PMTs is a really long road. And so please treat it like a marathon and not a sprint. Now what this means is that make your schedule sustainable and have planned breaks. Do not try to bulldoze your way through the syllabus, because what that's going to do is that you will end up burning yourself out and exhausting yourself prematurely, and that is going to solve no purpose. Now something that I used to do is that I used to make a target for myself for every month, and on the 29th, by the 29th, try to finish through whatever I had planned for that month. And 30th and 31st were days for revision, and the 1st and 2nd of every new month were my off days. Those were the days where I did not touch my books. They were my downtime. That was the time for me to relax, get back into a mental frame of mind that would allow me to study further in that month. And what this really did was help me keep my sanity, because trust me, the preparation in itself is a really hectic process. The syllabus is huge. It takes a lot from you in trying to, master it, because at the end of the day, these exams are really competitive, and if you want to get through, you really have to put in your heart and soul. And so in that process, I would suggest make sure that you do not drain yourself out, you do not burn out quickly, and take care of your health, and specifically your mental health, because if that is not in place, nothing else is going to work out. Now, the third thing that you need to keep in mind while preparing your strategy is whether you want to attend coaching classes for your preparation or not. Now, the opinion on this is fairly divided. Some people feel that it's a waste of time, energy, and money, while others swear by it. I personally belong to the second group. Guys, the only reason that I was able to clear PMTs is because of my coaching class and my teachers in that coaching institute. I used to go to the Noida Center of Akash, and I cannot speak enough good things about this coaching institute. I am not affiliated to Akash in any ways, and anything and everything that I say is just because I am so grateful to them, because they are the reason why I was able to clear my PMTs and I am here today as a medical student. The teachers, they know what it takes to get through this humongous challenge that is PMTs. They have done it. They have helped students for many years to get through it, and so they actually know what it takes. They are experienced in what kind of effort you need to put in. And I would say that, why do you want to put yourself at a disadvantage? These exams are highly competitive, and all your competitors, or most of your competitors, are getting all the help they need. So why do you want to put yourself at a disadvantage and not get all the help that you need? I honestly cannot speak enough good things about going to coaching. I think that's something that's really non-negotiable, and if you're serious about getting into a medical school, then that is something that you cannot even think of skimping on. Yes, it takes extra effort. Yes, you need to go after your school hours and you have to put in extra effort, but that is what it takes. That effort is required to clear your entrances. And so at the end of the day, I think it boils down to how much you really want it. And another thing about coaching is that it keeps you on track. It doesn't let you falter or lag behind, because they have like periodic tests. So they actually ensure that you are on time with your syllabus. So I would I'm repeating this, and at the cost of sounding redundant, I cannot say this enough. Please, if you guys can, if you have the means available to you, definitely go for coaching, because I think that is one aspect of your preparation that you cannot skip on. Merely NCRT or your board syllabus is not going to be enough to cover or clear your PMTs. And as far as which coaching is concerned, I guess that's a matter of personal opinion. Ask people around you what's good in the place that you are in, what coaching center has the best reputation. But by large, by far that I know, Akash is considered the most premier coaching center for medical entrances. And as a person who attended their classroom coaching for 2 years, I did the entire course. I cannot speak enough good things about it. Specifically, if you guys are living in Delhi, the Noida Center is fantastic. The teachers are brilliant. Even now, 2 years later, I am so grateful to them, because they are the reason why I am here today. The fourth thing that you need to keep in mind while creating your strategy is that you need to mentally prepare yourself for the sacrifice it takes. And when I mean sacrifice, I basically mean your time. You need to devote all your time and energy to your preparation and to your studies. These are 2 years or 1 year, depending on from when you're preparing, that you really cannot afford to get distracted. And so during these 2 years, you would have to cut down on your social life and on parties and movies and the time you spend with your friends or your family and all of that. And trust me, it is so worth it. I did that. I actually my friends used to call it me going into hibernation for 2 years. I cut out all the excesses and distractions from my life, and at the end of the day, when you get a seat in a medical college, that feeling and knowing that you're going to become a doctor and everything else that follows afterwards, it's so totally worth it. So I think at the end of the day, it's about how bad you want it, because if you really want to become a doctor, this is a sacrifice that I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, you have to put in the effort for those 1 or 2 years, and after that you can reap all the benefits you want. Your friends, your social life are not going to go anywhere, and trust me, the social life in college is much more happening than the social life you can imagine in school. So I would definitely say that, consciously make that decision, make that sacrifice, and it's gonna be worth it, guys. Once you clear your PMTs and get through to a medical school, it's gonna be so worth it. Number 5 is solving MCQs and question banks. Now, when you're creating your strategy, keep in mind that while you need to devote time to, understanding the concept and reading and learning, you need to devote equal amount of time to solving question banks and past year papers and MCQs, because that is the format of the entrance that you have to give, and you need to not only familiarize yourself with it but also be an expert at it. And it's not just about being able to solve the questions. You need to solve them efficiently, you need to solve them quickly, because at the end of the day, time is money during those 3 hours of your entrance. And so I would say start solving questions from day one. While you buy textbooks to prepare, also buy MCQ books along with it, or as and when you complete a chapter, immediately solve questions from there. There are hundreds of question banks in the market, and you can pick up any publication. They're all based on previous year's papers, and again, this is, I think, something that you cannot afford to skip on. I would suggest start this from day one. Start solving questions and get into the habit of solving MCQs. Create your speed, create your stamina from day one, and trust me, it's going to pay you off in there. The 6th thing that you need to ask yourself before creating the strategy is whether you want to study alone or with a study group. Now, I used to study alone, and I used to find that to be the best form of studying for me, because I could, go at my own pace and it was less distracting. However, if you feel that you cannot study alone and you do not have the motivation required for that and you want to study in a study group, then I guess I would just say that keep your study group small, because if your group is big, then despite the best efforts, it is going to get distracting and you guys are going to spend more time fooling around than actually getting things done. The best way to study, if you don't want to study alone, is study with one person, that is, have a study partner and not a group. But even then, I would, say that when you're choosing your study partner, keep your goal in mind. Give that priority, not your friendship. Your friendship is not going to go anywhere. Choose a person who has similar study techniques and has a similar pace, because otherwise one of you is going to end up losing out, or maybe both of you will end up losing out, and nobody wants that. And consciously keep assessing and asking yourself whether this is actually helping you or not. How effective is it to study with another person as opposed to studying yourself? Is it going to bring you down? I think at this point it's very, very important to know that you need to be selfish. Being selfish while preparing for your PMTs is not a bad thing. It's a necessity, because at the end of the day, when you're giving your exams and trying to get through into medical school, it's every man for themselves. And the 7th and final tip that I would like to give you guys is do not cheat yourself, guys. That is something that I have seen so many people doing. They create a study technique or a strategy and, try to pull through with it, and they don't see results, or they clearly realize that it's not working out. Don't tell yourself, oh, it's okay, it's going to take care of itself in the future. It is not. If you think something is wrong, then fix it. If you think you're not able to keep up with the pace, if you think you're not able to keep up with your peers, then seek help. There are people always ready to help you out. Go to your family, go to your friends. Do not tell yourself that it will be okay. If there is a problem, then identify it quickly and tackle it. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a disaster later. So whether it is in terms of keeping up with your syllabus, or whether it is with a certain subject becoming a weakness, or you not being able to cope up with the stress of preparing for your PMTs, whatever it is, if there is a problem, then do not try to con yourself into believing that it's going to be okay. It will be okay if you tackle that problem now. Let's move on to the second section of preparation for PMTs, which is study techniques. Now, when we're talking about preparing for PMTs, the only way you can do that efficiently is if you know what your ideal study technique is. So if you don't already know what works the best for you, the best way to figure it out is by trying them all out and, identifying what works for you. So there are mainly 4 types of study techniques. The first and the most common one being writing. This is something that works the best for me. And what this basically means is that after you study a chapter or read a certain content, you make notes, you make flowcharts, you scribble. What you basically do is write out the information, because that helps in memory formation, thereby facilitating learning. The second type of study method is just plain simple reading. Now, if this is your study technique, then I cannot tell you how lucky you are. If all it takes for you is just to read a certain information and read a chapter and you're good to go, you will retain all the concepts just by reading it once, then that's the easiest, most quickest way of learning. And most people are unable to do it because merely reading once does not really facilitate memory formation in most people. But if it works for you, then congratulations. I mean, you can't be luckier. The third type of study, the third study method is audio. This is mainly, if this is the way that you learn best, your memory formation is triggered best by auditory stimulus, then there are 2 ways that you can use it. Firstly, when you're reading a content or when you're reading a chapter, speak it out loud. What that's going to do is you're going to hear your own voice, and that auditory stimulus will aid in memory formation. And also at the same time, when you're reading out loud, it makes sure that your attention is on that content and on that topic, and your mind doesn't wander elsewhere. Another way you can use the auditory method is by recording your content. You can, we all have smartphones nowadays. Just use a voice recording app to record a certain content or record a certain concept, or after reading it, explain it to yourself and record that. And when you're free, maybe when you're traveling or when you're not in a mood for active studying, listen to that, and that will help in forming your memory, and thereby you're not really wasting time, and at the same time getting a lot done. And the last and final way is the visual method. So people who learn best visually, for them it's I would suggest try to make flowcharts or Google diagrams, Google schematic representations of the topic. Most concepts, specifically concepts of bio and chemistry, can be represented schematically, and use that as an aid in studying. Now, just having visual aids is obviously not going to be sufficient, so you will have to supplement it with reading or writing. But if that is your main trigger for learning, then I guess we are living in the best era possible. You have information at your fingertips. Just Google a topic and you will be able to find information on it, and a lot of visual aids, and use that to your advantage. So the thing about study techniques is that you do not need to restrict yourself to one. You can use multiple methods, or even you can use different methods for different subjects, which is something that I used to do. Now, what I used to do is that I made my major study technique that I used 80% of the time was writing. I used to make notes. I used to make extensive notes. So I used to make notes in bio, chemistry, and physics. But what I basically did is, in bio, I used to focus more on the concepts and the facts. I used to try, whenever I'm making notes for every topic, I would try to get the concept down. How is this happening? What is the physiology behind it? What is the anatomy? What is, if we are, let's say, studying taxonomy, what is the pattern? Try to get the concept down, because at the end of the day, you will have to memorize it, and if it's in a more streamlined fashion, then that will just help in, the memorization process. In chemistry, I kind of divided it into two parts, organic and inorganic chemistry. The organic chemistry portion, what I did was, again, write down the concepts and the reactions. And I used to do that as schematically as possible, with, keeping the structure of the compound in mind, and trying to keep it as diagrammatic as possible, so that, I could grasp the concept quicker. Whereas in inorganic chemistry, my strategy for making notes was formula based. I tried to, condense all formulas in like one notebook or in one place, so that I could revise them quickly and on the go, and then resolve to, solving questions. As for physics, notes for me basically meant having formula charts for every chapter. The other ways that I used to study was rereading my notes, specifically for bio, and the formula charts for physics and chemistry, and even in physical chemistry for that matter. I would reread the notes, reread the formula charts, speak it out loud, and basically try to imprint it on my mind, so that, it didn't just become a fact. It became rock solid in my head. And finally, something that I talked about before, once all of this was done, the making notes and the revision and revising them, not just after this was done, even simultaneously, I would constantly solve questions, specifically in physics and chemistry, guys, and also in bio, of course. But the reason why I'm emphasizing physics and chemistry is because the questions in physics and chemistry are mostly numerical based, and the only way you can prepare for that is by solving more and more numericals. You cannot prepare yourself for numericals by reading the concept or understanding the concept. Of course, that's important, but you will only master it once you solve hundreds and thousands of numericals. So invest in question banks, and while you are preparing, while you are understanding the topic, solve questions simultaneously. Do not wait to finish covering the syllabus to resort to question banks. Coming to the last and final section of preparation for your PMTs, let's talk about what resources I used. So the first and foremost thing, and what I considered my basic resource, were class notes taken in coaching classes. I used to sit on the first bench, and most of these coaching classes, they use the blackboard chalk technique to teach you. They would teach you the concept not just by giving you a lecture, but actually draw it out on the board and explain it to you. I would suggest actively take notes in every class. That is something that you cannot afford to lose out on. That knowledge and that information is pure gold. So I think the most effective way of learning and preparing is taking notes in class. Now obviously, because you're taking notes while the teacher is teaching, these are going to be rough notes, and I used to supplement these notes later by reading from reference books and also the textbook material that my coaching class gave me, Akash. If you do not want to enroll in a coaching center, I would say at least get the textbook material, because that is invaluable. Apart from that, the other reference books that I used to supplement my notes were basic reference textbooks from Dinesh or Truman, or I think most of these publications are very similar, and the content is more or less the same. So you can use any reference books. What I used to use was Truman and Dinesh, and I highly recommend that. And of course, the Akash class notes and the Akash text that they gave us. And finally, the second most important resource, or probably the most important resource that I have already talked about before, are MCQ books and question banks. This is something that, again, I would say do not skimp out on. complete as many questions as you can, solve hundreds and thousands of questions, because that's the only way that you're going to be prepared enough for those tests. These exams are not just competitive, they are difficult, they are not a cakewalk, and so I guess you need to do everything in your power to prepare yourself for them, and question banks is something that's going to help you a lot. So some publications off the top of my head that I used were MTG and Arihant, but these are very reputed publications, but at the end of the day, any publication that you pick up in the market, they're going to have past year's question papers, and that is not going to change. So don't worry about the publication. I would suggest buy question banks, solve them, and buy more. So that is going to be all for today. I hope you guys found this video helpful and it can aid you in achieving your dream of getting into medical school. As always, please feel free to leave your comments, questions and suggestions down in the comment section below, or you can also personally email me. My email ID is going to be in the description box down below. And if you're a medical student and have already completed the pre-medical phase of your life, then please feel free to leave your pre-medical experience in the comment section. We would love to hear your experiences as well. So please do not forget to hit the thumbs up button and click on the subscribe button down below so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you once again for tuning in, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, guys.